Hi, this is Drew Jones of Drew's Guitar Shop in Seattle, Washington, and today I wanted to do a little part two to a video that I did last week where I took the neck off of this bass and was using it to demonstrate how to sight down the corners of the fretboard and use the corners of the nut and the end of the fretboard to spot twists that might be present in a neck. I made a comment in that video basically kind of along the lines of, well, just because a neck has a twist to it does not mean that the instrument isn't going to play or take a setup. And I imagine that I'm going to get some pushback in the comments about that, but it's been my experience over the years that it's really kind of unpredictable what a twist does in some cases. In some cases you can look at something and see that it's going to be an issue right off the bat, but in a lot of cases you just have to string it up and play it and see if it's a problem. In this case, after I got the nut installed, the new bone nut that I carved for this guy, and did a little bit of fretwork on it, I did a level crown and polish on this bass, I found that it took a setup just fine, and that every one of the notes is present and rings and is clean. So I'm now going to go ahead and play every note down the neck and kind of demonstrate to you what I ended up with. And yeah, we'll see. Just show you what I've got. Now you might hear some rattling because the amp is right beneath my workbench here and it kind of rattles the tools. But yeah. So that's every note on every string, and as you can hear, we've still got a playable instrument here. So yeah, I guess just because what I wanted to demonstrate is just that again, these twists are kind of unpredictable, and just because there's one in your guitar or bass or whatever, it doesn't necessarily mean that the instrument should get thrown out or that it's not capable of playing or taking a good setup or any of those things. In fact, sometimes it's just not really a noticeable problem, and so I wanted to make this video because this is one of those things that I get calls and emails about sometimes, where I'll have somebody freaking out that they just now discovered that their guitar that they've been playing for like 10 years has a twist in the neck, and it's just funny to me because if it's an instrument that you've been playing for a long time and you've just now discovered that it has this flaw in it that you didn't notice for all of these years while you're playing it, well, I'm going to come back to what I usually tell people when they ask me if something is a problem, and I will throw the question back at them and I'll say, well, is it? Is it causing a problem? Do you notice this affecting the tone, the playability, or is it structurally compromising the instrument that you're playing? And if the answer to those questions is no, and it's not something that you really noticed before, well, chances are it's just not really that big of a problem, and maybe pulling your hair out over it, trying to correct some minor thing, or trying to fix something that hasn't presented itself as a playability issue is not really not really a good use of money or resources. So that's kind of where I wanted this video to take people in terms of thinking about these things. So yeah, if you look at the original video, which I'm going to link down in the description, you're going to see how dramatic the twist was on this neck. It is not a small twist. In fact, this one really was one where I was looking at it thinking, oh, that's really gnarly, and it may be a huge problem. But again, stringing it up, setting it up, didn't run into any issues with it. I'm definitely going to advise the person who buys this instrument from me that this does have a twisted neck, but I'm also going to let them pick it up and play it And, if somebody didn't want to buy it based on this twist, I would totally understand. Like I also explained in that other video, like if I was walking into an instrument store and I was sighting down the necks of guitars that I was, potentially interested in buying, and I saw something that was like a really dramatic twist, I don't think I would necessarily not pay attention to that when it came to, selecting the instrument that I was going to end up with in the end. It is a flaw. It is something that could potentially cause problems. It's definitely not ideal, but, if you just happen to come by something like this, or you already own it, or, you've been playing it for years or whatever, it's not something that I would freak out about. It's not necessarily something where I go, oh man, I just have to get rid of this thing and get a new instrument now. It's like throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It's just not necessary. So anyway, please go ahead and watch the video in the description so that you can kind of understand where I'm coming from with this bass, and maybe give that a notion of is it a problem, kind of a thought. When either you read something on a guitar forum that tells you that you should be freaked out about something, or you have a friend who's a guitar player who tells you that you should be freaked out about something, because there's a lot of I want to call it superstition in the guitar world when it comes to some things, and a lot of the opinions and things that are floating around out there a lot of times are not really based in reality, in terms of like the what people think is a problem and what people might recommend as a solution. Again, in this case, this twist is definitely not ideal. If I could wiggle my nose, like in Bewitched, and it be gone, I would totally do that. But as it is, I think it's an issue that can be lived with, especially considering the price range that I'm going to be selling this for, which is going to be price range of about a student bass. So somebody's going to get a lot of years of use out of this thing, despite its problem. And I don't know, maybe someone will look at it and go, man, that's quite a bit of character that this thing has. Because that's the other direction that you can kind of take imperfections and things, is that sometimes they just lend character to an instrument. So anyway, this has been Drew Jones of Drew's Guitar Shop in Seattle, Washington. If you found this video helpful and you want to kick me a few bucks on Ko-fi, there's a link to that in the description of the video. If you wanted to sign up for something more regular, there's a Patreon down there that you could sign up for too. It's like $1 or something a month as the minimum. And I also have a link down there to my website, which has my contact info, price ranges, and other stuff, including a page that kind of talks to instrument owners about how to care for their instruments. And I also have a lot of other videos on my page that you can check out. Some of them are kind of helpful tutorials, and some of them are just kind of going over some weird stuff that I see, and some of them are some guitars that I've worked on. But you might have fun with some of those. If you know anybody who'd be into this, please link them the video and let them know about me. And I would appreciate all the attention I can get as far as that goes. And if you happen to be in the Seattle area and need guitar repair, I'd love to hear from you and maybe set you up with an appointment. Anyway, this has been Drew Jones of Drew's Guitar Shop in Seattle, Washington. Thanks for watching.